In the sweltering July heat of 1955, smart housewives had one golden rule: never turn on the oven. Instead, they opened their trusty 5-ring binder editions of Betty Crocker's Picture Cookbook to create beautiful, creamy, zero-bake showstoppers called Icebox desserts. Today, we are unlocking the archive to look at 25 forgotten 1950s icebox desserts that nobody makes anymore. Number 1. The famous chocolate wafer zebra cake. This was the undisputed king of the 1950s refrigerator dessert craze. It relied entirely on Nabisco famous chocolate wafers, which were introduced way back in 1924, but became a summer necessity during the post-war appliance boom. Homemakers bought them by the sleeve for just a few cents at the neighborhood A&P grocery counter. For many of us, the sound of Grandma whipping the heavy cream in a chilled glass bowl with her trusty hand-cranked rotary mixer is a sound that instantly brings back summer vacation. To prepare it, she would spread a generous spoonful of cream onto a single wafer, top it with another wafer, and repeat the process until she had a small stack. She laid these stacks horizontally on a serving platter to form a long log, then masked the entire outside in the remaining whipped cream until the cookies were completely hidden. You had to let it sit in the icebox for at least 12 hours, which felt like an eternity when you were a kid standing in front of the refrigerator door. Overnight, the moisture from the cream transformed those rock-hard cookies into a soft, sliceable chocolate sponge cake with striking black and white diagonal stripes. Sadly, Nabisco made the decision to officially discontinue these iconic wafers, leaving retro bakers scrambling for alternatives. Did your mother make the classic log version, or did she stack them into individual little towers? Number 2. Betty Crocker's graham cracker crust chiffons. Chiffon desserts exploded in popularity when Knox Gelatin heavily marketed unflavored gelatin sheets and powders to mid-century homemakers looking for airy, elegant textures. For this dish, a housewife would stand over the stove beating egg yolks with sugar, fresh squeezed lemon juice, and cold water in a heavy double boiler until the mixture coated the back of a wooden spoon. Knox gelatin dissolved in cold water was folded into the hot custard, which was then set aside in a bowl of ice water until it turned syrupy. Separately, egg whites were whipped to stiff peaks with more sugar and folded into the cooling lemon base alongside a cup of freshly whipped heavy cream. The filling was poured into a homemade crust made from crushed premium honey. Graham crackers purchased at Piggly Wiggly, mixed with melted Land O'Lakes butter and a tablespoon of sugar. It sat in the absolute coldest part of the refrigerator for 4 hours to firm up. When sliced, it was completely stable, ultra-light, and offered a sharp, tart citrus bite that cut right through the midsummer humidity. Number 3. The crown jewel broken glass gelatin cake. This visual showstopper was created to highlight the expanding color palette of General Foods' Jell-O line, which was a dominant advertiser in the 1950s women's magazines. Homemakers dissolved individual packages of cherry, lime, and orange Jell-O in separate shallow square pans using 1 cup less water than the standard box instructions called for. This trick ensured a firm, rubbery set that wouldn't melt when handled. Once chilled solid, the housewife took a butter knife and carefully sliced the colorful gelatin slabs into half-inch cubes. The cement holding the jewels together was made by dissolving a box of pineapple Jell-O in boiling water, mixing it with canned Dole crushed pineapple juice, and folding in whipped carnation evaporated milk or early formulations of Dream Whip powder. The colorful cubes were tossed into this creamy pale yellow mixture, poured into a heavy Miro aluminum tube pan, and chilled overnight. Inverting the pan onto a silver platter revealed a mosaic of stained glass gelatin cubes locked inside a translucent, creamy pineapple crown that was the star of any July backyard party. This was the ultimate dessert for church potlucks and bridal showers because it looked so expensive on a crystal platter. Which flavors did your family use? Did you stick to the classic cherry and lime, or did your mother use lemon and grape? Number 4. Peppermint stick chocolate ganache loaf. This recipe gained massive traction when regional dairies started selling pre-crushed peppermint candy pieces specifically for summer baking and ice cream toppings. Housewives lined a standard metal loaf pan with wax paper, leaving an inch of overhang on the sides, then dusted the bottom with crushed premium chocolate cookie crumbs bought from the baking aisle. The filling required melting a full bag of white campfire marshmallows in a double boiler with a splash of Borden's whole milk until smooth and sticky. Once completely cooled, this marshmallow base was folded into heavy cream, whipped to stiff peaks, along with half a cup of the crushed peppermint candy pieces. The pastel pink mixture was layered into the loaf pan, topped with another thick layer of cookie crumbs, and pressed down gently. After an overnight chill in the icebox, the housewife used the wax paper handles to lift the entire loaf out of the pan. Slicing it revealed a beautiful, speckled pink interior, framed by dark chocolate crumbs that provided a refreshing, minty crunch. This dessert always brings back memories of old-fashioned ice cream parlors and county fairs. If you miss the days when peppermint desserts were a regular summer treat instead of just a Christmas tradition, you're with good company. Number 5. Ginger Snap and Mott's Applesauce Stack. A massive favorite in rural farmhouse kitchens because it required no expensive dairy, which could spoil quickly on hot July afternoons before central air conditioning. Homemakers purchased large boxes of spicy, rock-hard ginger snap cookies from the dry goods aisle of their local market. Using a round Pyrex glass baking dish, they spread a thin layer of Mott's canned applesauce across the bottom, followed by a neat layer of ginger snaps, repeating the process up to 6 layers deep until the dish was filled to the brim. The secret to this dessert was time. The natural fruit acidity and moisture of the sweetened applesauce broke down the stiff molasses structure of the ginger snaps over a rigorous 24-hour chill period. The cookies absorbed the liquid completely, swelling up and binding with the applesauce. When cut into wedges the next day, it revealed a perfectly layered spiced mock cake that tasted remarkably like a labor-intensive gingerbread, despite containing absolutely no flour, eggs, or butter. Number 6. Pineapple Vanilla Wafer Refrigerator Square. This dessert capitalized on the post-war availability of affordable imported canned goods from Hawaii, which made canned pineapple a symbol of modern, exotic hospitality. It started with a solid base layer of Nabisco Nilla wafers lining the bottom of an 8-inch square glass dish. The filling was a rich, creamed mixture of softened Philadelphia cream cheese, a cup of powdered sugar, and a thoroughly drained can of Dole crushed pineapple. This dense mixture was lightened up by folding in a container of freshly whipped heavy cream from the local dairy. Another layer of vanilla wafers went on top of the pineapple cream, and the housewife would sprinkle extra crushed cookie crumbs over the surface for texture. The dish was covered in wax paper and placed in the refrigerator for 12 hours. Over that time, the dry vanilla wafers absorbed the tropical pineapple oils and moisture from the cream cheese, softening into a dense, fruity, melt-in-your-mouth cake layer that sliced beautifully into neat dessert squares. Number 7. Graham Cracker Mocha Layer Cake. As instant coffee crystals like Maxwell House Instant became standard American pantry items in the early 1950s, clever corporate home economists scrambled to find ways to use them outside the breakfast mug. For this icebox classic, homemakers dissolved 2 tablespoons of instant coffee powder directly into liquid heavy cream before whipping it with granulated sugar in a chilled bowl. This mocha-flavored cream was spread thickly between sheets of honey. Graham crackers building a tall, rectangular stack right on a serving plate. The coffee-infused cream acted quickly on the crispness of the crackers, dissolving their dry texture within 10 hours in the refrigerator. The resulting dessert had a texture identical to a traditional bakery mocha sponge cake, with the graham crackers turning into delicate, dark layers divided by smooth coffee cream. It was often finished with a shaving of a Hershey's milk chocolate bar over the top to give it an upscale appearance for Sunday company. Many of us remember our parents sitting around the kitchen table late at night, drinking instant coffee and sharing a slice of this cake after the kids went to bed. Who remembers the distinct smell of opening a fresh jar of Maxwell House instant coffee crystals? Number 8. Mid-century strawberry ribbon pie. This recipe used a clever combination of fresh summer strawberries and boxed strawberry Jell-O to create a visually striking presentation with minimal effort. First, a graham cracker crust was pressed into a tin pie plate. The filling was made in 2 distinct stages to create the iconic ribbon effect. Half of the strawberry Jell-O was mixed with pureed fresh berries and poured directly into the bottom of the crust to set firm. The remaining half of the liquid gelatin was cooled in the fridge until syrupy, then vigorously whipped with a hand-cranked rotary egg beater until it became foamy and doubled in volume before being folded into a cup of whipped cream. This lighter, fluffy pastel pink layer was spread directly over the firm, dark red berry layer, creating a distinct 2-toned ribbon appearance when cut into wedges. It perfectly captured the 1950s obsession with layered, multi-textured molded desserts. Number 9. Lime Pineapple Cream Cheese Squares. A savory and sweet hybrid that was standard fare at the 1950s garden club meetings and church potlucks. Lime Jell-O was dissolved in boiling water, then blended with a brick of softened Philadelphia cream cheese using a hand-crank egg beater until the mixture was completely smooth and pale green. Drained canned crushed pineapple and half a cup of finely chopped southern pecans were folded into the gelatin base. The mixture was poured over a unique crust made of crushed saltine crackers mixed with melted butter, which provided a salty contrast to the sweet filling. It was chilled until completely firm, then cut into neat squares and served on a bed of crisp lettuce leaves, often garnished with a single bright red maraschino cherry. It represented the ultimate mid-century convenient salad dessert combo that has completely vanished from modern menus. This is one of those recipes that sound highly unusual to younger generations today, but our mothers and grandmothers absolutely adored it. Number 10. Dainty Cherry Almond Ladyfinger Cake. Ladyfingers were an upscale bakery item that became widely available to suburban shoppers when grocery store bakery departments like A&P's Jane Parker brand began mass distributing them in cellophane packs. Homemakers split the light sponge biscuits in half and lined the sides and bottom of a springform pan, keeping the rounded sides facing outward. The filling was a rich mixture of whipped heavy cream, unflavored Knox gelatin for stability, a teaspoon of almond extract, and a cup of chopped, drained red maraschino cherries. This elegant dessert was chilled for 6 hours until the gelatin locked the cream in place. Right before serving, the springform ring was popped open and removed, revealing a decorative picket fence border of golden ladyfingers holding a fluffy, pink speckled almond cream. It was considered the height of elegant no-bake entertaining for a 1950s housewife hosting a summer bridge game. Number 11. Orange Creamsicle Icebox Pie. This recipe captured the simple magic of hearing the faint, tinny music of the Good Humor truck rolling down your suburban street on a blistering July afternoon. To recreate that exact sidewalk treat at home, mothers utilized frozen concentrated orange juice, which had recently revolutionized the supermarket freezer aisle. A can of Minute Maid frozen orange juice concentrate was thawed on the counter just until slushy, then folded gently into a quart of vanilla ice cream that had softened just enough to stir with a heavy wooden spoon. This thick, vibrant, orange-speckled cream was poured into a crust made from crushed vanilla wafers pressed firmly into a tin pie plate. Placed directly into the coldest part of the refrigerator, it firmed up into a smooth, refreshing slice that tasted exactly like the ice cream bars you used to eat on the curb while swatting away summer mosquitoes. Number 12. Raspberry Bavarian Cream Mold. Bavarian creams were traditionally complex, grand affairs reserved for upscale European bakeries. But 1950s food chemists brought that elegance straight to the American housewife using packaged gelatin. On a quiet Saturday evening, raspberry Jell-O was dissolved in hot water, then mixed with a package of frozen, sweetened raspberries that had been thawed until they released their deep, ruby red juices. Once the mixture began to thicken to the consistency of egg whites, a bowl of heavy cream was whipped to stiff peaks and folded through it until uniform. The true art was pouring it into an intricate, gleaming copper mold that hung as decoration on the kitchen wall. After an overnight chill, the mold was dipped briefly in warm water, allowing a flawless, towering raspberry cream to slide onto a crystal platter for Sunday dinner. Unmolding a gelatin dessert on Sunday always felt like a high-stakes kitchen miracle. Did your mother or grandmother collect those decorative copper molds? Number 13. Fudge Mallow Walnut Graham Squares. For families wanting a rich chocolate fix without making the kitchen unbearable with a hot stove, this recipe was a weekend staple. Hershey's baking chocolate squares were melted over hot water with a pat of real butter and a can of Eagle brand sweetened condensed milk, creating a glossy, thick fudge right on the countertop. Once smooth, the pan was taken off the heat, and mini marshmallows and chopped diamond English walnuts were stirred in. Children often hovered by the counter, hoping to lick the sticky spoon. This dense mixture was spread over a neat layer of honey graham crackers in a square baking tin, topped with another layer of crackers, and chilled until the chocolate set into a dense, chewy fudge. This treat always showed up at backyard movie nights or late-night porch visits. If you remember the rich taste of Eagle brand condensed milk straight from the can, give this video a like. 14. Velvet Chocolate Angel Food Icebox Cake. This clever recipe allowed housewives to rescue a slightly day-old bakery angel food cake bought from the A&P day-old rack and turn it into a magnificent weekend centerpiece. The center of the airy cake was carefully hollowed out with a long serrated knife, leaving a fragile 1-inch outer shell, while the removed cake pieces were torn into bite-sized clouds. A rich chocolate custard was cooked gently on the stove using egg yolks, sugar, and Baker's German sweet chocolate. Once cooled, those torn cake pieces were folded back into the chocolate custard along with freshly whipped cream, then packed tightly back into the hollowed cake shell. After an overnight chill, the custard fused completely with the cake walls, creating a sliceable, velvet-textured marvel that looked like a high-end bakery creation when cut into thick wedges. Angel food cake always felt so light and special, especially when served on a hot summer evening. Number 15. Creamy Peanut Butter Chocolate Wafer Pie. Peanut butter manufacturing took a massive leap forward in the 1950s with the introduction of stabilized, no-stir formulas from brands like Skippy and Jif, making it a favorite for quick summer desserts. Homemakers creamed smooth peanut butter with powdered sugar and a splash of vanilla, then lightened the dense mixture by folding in heavy cream whipped in a chilled glass bowl. This nutty filling was poured into a pie shell made entirely of crushed Nabisco chocolate wafer crumbs bound with melted Land O'Lakes butter. The aroma of peanut butter and chocolate filling the kitchen as it was prepped was unforgettable. Chilled until firm, it offered a rich, comforting slice that tasted identical to a giant chocolate peanut butter cup, making it a massive hit for kids home from school for the summer. This pie was always the first to disappear at neighborhood block parties. Did your family love the peanut butter and chocolate combination, or were you strictly Team Vanilla? Number 16. Vintage Rum Butter Ladyfinger Loaf. This elegant dessert carried the sophisticated feeling of an old-fashioned dinner party. Ladyfingers were an upscale bakery treat that became accessible when grocery store bakery departments like A&P's Jane Parker brand began selling them in neat cellophane packs. Homemakers split the light sponge biscuits in half and lightly brushed them with rum extract diluted with whole milk, arranging them meticulously to line a metal loaf pan lined with crisp wax paper. A rich, velvety custard was cooked on the stovetop with egg yolks, sugar, milk, and plenty of real butter. Once cooled, this butter custard was poured over the ladyfingers, and the entire loaf was chilled for 12 hours. The wax paper made it easy to lift the firm, cold loaf out of the pan, revealing a beautiful golden dessert that sliced cleanly into elegant, buttery portions. The distinct crinkle of wax paper being pulled away from a chilled loaf dessert is a sound many of us remember from our mother's or grandmother's kitchen. Number 17. Mid-century Black Forest Icebox Layer. Long before the traditional German Black Forest cake became a staple in American bakeries during the late 1960s, clever mid-century homemakers created this brilliant icebox version using pantry staples. They layered dark, sweet canned cherries from the Del Monte line, instant chocolate pudding made with cold Borden's milk, and honey graham crackers in a deep glass Pyrex dish. The real magic happened in the dark of the refrigerator over 24 hours. The crackers absorbed the deep moisture from the chocolate pudding and the sweet cherry syrup, swelling up and softening into a rich, decadent texture. When sliced, it revealed perfect, uniform layers of fruit and chocolate that made it look like you had spent hours baking a complex cake. Canned cherries were a staple for quick summer desserts when fresh fruit was out of season. What was your mother's absolute favorite canned fruit dessert to make in July? Number 18. Pink Lemonade Icebox Pie. This pie became an overnight sensation across suburban neighborhoods due to its striking pastel pink color, which perfectly matched the 1950s obsession with pink kitchens, appliances, and home decor. It was made by mixing a can of thawed, frozen pink lemonade concentrate with a can of Eagle brand sweetened condensed milk. Kids love to watch the kitchen chemistry happen. The high acid content of the lemonade concentrate reacted with the proteins in the condensed milk, causing it to thicken up instantly without a single second of cooking. Freshly whipped cream was folded in to give it a cloud-like texture, and the filling was swept into a buttery graham cracker crust. Chilled until ice cold, it offered a beautiful contrast of sweet and tart that made it the ultimate backyard refresher after a long day playing under the summer sun. The bright pink color of this pie always made it a standout on the picnic table. If you remember the pink kitchen craze of the 1950s, let me know what pink item you had in your house. Number 19. Toasted Coconut Cream Icebox Squares. Coconut was a highly prized ingredient for adding an exotic, chewy texture to mid-century desserts, and almost every kitchen had a can of Baker's Angel Flake coconut tucked away in the pantry. For this classic, a thick vanilla pudding was cooked on the stovetop and allowed to cool completely. Honey graham crackers were placed in the bottom of a square baking pan, followed by a generous layer of pudding and a heavy sprinkling of coconut flakes that had been lightly toasted in a dry cast iron skillet until they smelled sweet and nutty. This sequence was repeated 3 times, finishing with a dense layer of golden toasted coconut on top before the dish was placed in the refrigerator to set. Over the hours, the crackers softened into a delicate, melt-in-your-mouth pastry that held the rich coconut cream perfectly. The aroma of toasting coconut on a summer afternoon is a sensory memory you never truly forget. 20. The original Watergate salad fluff. While this bright green classic exploded into national fame in the mid-1970s, it actually traces its roots back to the 1950s convenience food boom, when food manufacturers were desperate for ways to make unbaked summer gatherings effortless. Housewives mixed a can of Dole-crushed pineapple, retaining every drop of the sweet tropical juice, directly with a package of Royal or Jell-O instant pistachio pudding mix right in a large mixing bowl. The pineapple juice instantly activated the dry pudding crystals, turning the mixture a beautiful pastel green hue. Then came the magic, folding in a generous tub of fluffy whipped topping and a full cup of mini campfire marshmallows. This dish goes by a dozen different names depending on where you grew up: Pistachio Delight, Watergate Salad, or simply Green Fluff. 21. Mid-century Southern Ambrosia Salad. For generations of grandmothers, a true Sunday supper in July wasn't complete without a crystal bowl of cold, sweet ambrosia salad resting on a bed of ice. This dessert was pure elegance wrapped in absolute simplicity. A housewife would spend her Saturday evening carefully peeling and segmenting fresh, juicy oranges, catching the sweet juices in a bowl alongside sliced bananas, and a can of drained Del Monte fruit cocktail. The real sensory memory comes from opening a bag of Baker's Angel Flake coconut and tossing the snowy, sweet shreds into the fruit mixture, along with mini marshmallows and a generous cup of sour cream or heavy whipped cream. The sour cream was the secret. It cut through the intense sweetness of the fruit over a 12-hour chill, turning the juices into a rich, velvety sauce. Bringing that gleaming bowl to the table, with the white marshmallows peeking through the orange slices, was the ultimate sign of summer hospitality. 22. Old school no-bake banana pudding. This version is the quick-prep summer variation that became a staple when instant pudding mixes hit grocery shelves. Homemakers would line the bottom and sides of a classic Pyrex glass dish with a solid wall of Nabisco Nilla wafers, a brand that instantly triggers memories of reaching into that familiar bright yellow box. A rich vanilla filling was made by whisking cold Borden's milk with Jell-O instant vanilla pudding mix, then folding in a tub of Cool Whip topping. The assembly was a treasured childhood memory. A layer of crunchy wafers, a layer of perfectly ripe, sweet sliced bananas, and a layer of smooth vanilla cream, repeated all the way to the top. Left in the refrigerator overnight, the wafers performed a miracle. They absorbed the moisture from the pudding, swelling up into a delicate, melt-in-your-mouth cake texture. The best part of making banana pudding was always getting to eat the leftover Nilla wafers at the bottom of the box. Did your mother serve her banana pudding warm with meringue, or ice cold from the fridge like this summer version? 23. 1950s authentic grasshopper pie. Named after the popular minty mid-century cocktail, this pie was the ultimate sophisticated summer showstopper that mothers made for neighborhood bridge games and July dinner parties. It began with a rich, dark crust made from finely crushed Oreo or Hydrox chocolate cookies mixed with melted Land O'Lakes butter. The filling was a unique, fluffy masterpiece. A full jar of marshmallow fluff, or melted campfire marshmallows, was folded into heavy cream that had been whipped in a chilled bowl until it held stiff peaks. To get that iconic pastel green look and refreshing mint flavor, the housewife would gently fold in a few tablespoons of green crème de menthe and white crème de cacao liqueurs before pouring it into the chocolate crust. The striking contrast of that bright green mint filling against the dark chocolate cookie crust looked so beautiful on a summer table. 24. Lime Jell-O Cottage Cheese Salad. This is the definitive convenience dessert that defined mid-century church potlucks and family reunions. It started with the distinct smell of pouring 2 packages of lime Jell-O into boiling water, filling the kitchen with an artificial but deeply familiar sweet citrus aroma. Once dissolved, the housewife would use a hand-cranked egg beater to blend in a cup of Borden's small curd cottage cheese and a cup of real mayonnaise until the mixture became uniform and a beautiful pale seafoam green. A thoroughly drained can of dole-crushed pineapple and a handful of chopped walnuts were folded in for texture. The mixture was poured into a heavy decorative aluminum ring mold and chilled until it held its shape perfectly. Children would watch in fascination as Grandma quickly dipped the bottom of the tin mold into warm water, smoothly inverting the shimmering green ring onto a platter lined with crisp iceberg lettuce leaves. To younger generations, mixing cottage cheese and mayo into lime gelatin sounds completely wild, but for us, it tastes like pure childhood summer. 25. Lemon Icebox Pie. This pie represents the absolute peak of 1950s kitchen convenience and is the ultimate tribute to hot summer afternoons spent on a shaded porch. It required absolutely no cooking and relied on a brilliant chemical reaction. A housewife would open a can of thick, Sweet Eagle brand-sweetened condensed milk and vigorously whisk it together with a half cup of tart, bottled lemon juice. Within seconds, the high acid content of the lemon juice would cause the milk proteins to thicken into a glossy, velvety custard without a single second of heat. This tart yellow cream was swept into a thick crust made from crushed premium honey graham crackers and melted butter. It was chilled until ice cold, then topped with a mountain of real whipped cream. Slicing into it revealed a dense, smooth lemon center that was cool, tart, and offered the perfect refreshing finish to a heavy Sunday dinner. And there you have it. Those old 1950s kitchens may be gone, but the love that went into making those chilled icebox treats on a hot July afternoon never truly fades. When we recreate these recipes, we aren't just making dessert. We are bringing a piece of our grandmothers back to the table. Thank you for walking down memory lane with me today, and I'll see you in the next video.